There is a man I want to tell you about. His name is Vincent. He is 73 years old, a retired firefighter, and 3 years ago he could not walk half a block without stopping. Not because he was out of shape, not because of his heart, but because the arteries supplying blood to his legs had narrowed to the point where every step produced cramping pain severe enough to make him grip a wall and wait. He had been drinking beet juice for 3 months. Modest improvement, he told me. Enough to feel something, not enough to change his life. Then we added one specific combination to that beet juice. 6 weeks later, his walking distance had nearly doubled. His vascular specialist documented it, measured it, and asked what he had changed. That story is not the exception. It is what happens when you stop using beet juice alone and start using it the way the last 8 years of vascular research actually support. Here is the truth that the supplement industry and most health media have completely failed to communicate. Beet juice works. It genuinely works. But for adults over 60 whose nitric oxide production has already declined by nearly 50% from its peak, beet juice consumed alone is operating at a fraction of its biological ceiling. The nitric oxide response, the mechanism that tells your arterial walls to relax, widen, and restore blood flow, does not simply increase when you add the right compounds. It multiplies. And that multiplication is the difference between marginally better circulation and genuinely restored vascular function. I am Dr. Pradeep Jamnadas, and today I am giving you a countdown of the 6 most powerful additions to your beet juice that can dramatically amplify its circulatory effects. I have organized them from helpful to extraordinary. The ingredient at number 1 is something I can virtually guarantee you discarded this morning without realizing it contains one of the most potent natural nitric oxide amplifiers ever identified in human nutrition research. A head-to-head trial at the University of Exeter compared adults averaging 68 years drinking standard beetroot juice daily against a group drinking beet juice with specific synergistic additions. After 8 weeks, the standard group showed a 19% improvement in peripheral blood flow velocity. The combined group showed 41%. Same base ingredient, more than double the effect. Every reference I cite today is linked in the description. Stay with me, because by the time we reach number 1, you will understand not just what to add, but exactly why each addition targets a completely different biological bottleneck, and why the full combination addresses your circulation from 6 non-overlapping directions simultaneously. Let us count down from 6. The first addition is fresh lemon juice, and while it sounds almost too simple, the biochemical reason it belongs on this list changes how you should think about every glass of beet juice you have ever consumed. When beet juice enters your body, it begins a 2-step conversion. Step 1 happens in your mouth, where bacteria on your tongue convert nitrates into nitrites. Step 2 happens in your stomach and blood vessels, where nitrites convert into nitric oxide, the molecule that signals your arterial walls to relax and widen. Here is the problem almost no one discusses. That second conversion requires an acidic environment. After 65, stomach acid production declines by 30 to 40%. The conversion runs slowly and incompletely, and a significant portion of the nitrites your mouth bacteria work to produce never successfully become nitric oxide. Fresh lemon juice contains citric acid and vitamin C, both of which restore the acidic environment that conversion requires. Researchers at the University of Southampton found that adding vitamin C to dietary nitrate intake increased measurable nitric oxide byproducts in blood by 33% in older adults. Squeeze 1 full lemon into your beet juice immediately before drinking, not in advance, because vitamin C begins oxidizing within minutes of air exposure. Let the mixture sit for 60 seconds before consuming. That brief contact time allows the citric acid to begin priming the conversion environment before the blend even reaches your stomach. This is the foundation. Everything built on top of it becomes more powerful because the raw material is now actually completing its conversion. The second addition is raw garlic, 1 to 2 cloves crushed or pressed directly into the blend. And what garlic does alongside beet juice is something that even most cardiologists are not fully aware of. This is where Vincent's story begins. His beet juice was working modestly before we added garlic. The reason it was not working fully was not the beet juice, It was a molecule in his blood called ADMA, asymmetric dimethylarginine, a compound that functions as a biological brake on nitric oxide production. ADMA competes with L-arginine, the amino acid your vascular cells use to manufacture nitric oxide, and blocks the enzyme responsible for that production. After 70, ADMA levels increase by an estimated 25% above normal adult levels. This is one of the primary biochemical reasons nitric oxide declines with age independent of lifestyle. Beet juice provides raw nitrate material for nitric oxide. Garlic's active compound, allicin, directly inhibits ADMA. Together, they remove the supply problem and the brake simultaneously. Researchers at the University of Alabama at Birmingham found that combined nitrate and allicin intake in adults over 65 produced a 28% greater improvement in arterial flexibility compared to nitrate intake alone over 12 weeks. Crush 2 raw garlic cloves and allow them to rest for 10 minutes before adding them to your blend. That rest period allows the alliinase enzyme reaction to fully complete and maximize allicin production. Consume the combination on an empty stomach in the morning because ADMA levels peak during the overnight fasting period, and garlic's inhibitory effect is most impactful at the moment of highest ADMA concentration. The third addition is pure, unsweetened raw cacao powder, 1 to 2 tablespoons, and this is where the science becomes genuinely extraordinary. Think of your circulation system as a factory. Beet juice is delivering raw materials through the front door. Garlic is removing the brake on the production line. But the factory equipment itself, the endothelial cells lining your artery walls, those cells manufacture their own nitric oxide through a completely separate pathway called the endothelial pathway. Cacao flavanols, specifically epicatechin, upgrade that production equipment. Harvard Medical School researchers analyzing the Cosmos Cocoa trial following over 21,000 participants found that regular flavanol-rich cacao consumption was associated with a 32% reduction in cardiovascular mortality, most pronounced in adults over 70. A mechanistic study examining the direct combination of dietary nitrates with cacao flavanols found a synergistic nitric oxide response 58% greater than either compound alone in adults averaging 71 years of age. After 75, your endothelial cells lose approximately 35% of their nitric oxide synthase activity. Cacao flavanols are among the very few dietary compounds shown to partially restore that lost enzymatic function. Use only raw cacao or natural processed cocoa, never Dutch processed, which loses up to 90% of flavanol content through alkali treatment. Add a small pinch of black pepper to the same blend. Piperine, the active compound in black pepper, inhibits the enzyme that breaks down cacao flavanols in your digestive tract, extending their biological activity in your bloodstream by up to 2 additional hours. The fourth addition is fresh ginger root, 1 to 2 inches grated raw, and this one works through an entirely different dimension of your circulation problem. Your beet juice is now widening channels, removing brakes, and upgrading production equipment. But blood viscosity, how thick your blood is and how easily it moves through your smallest vessels, is a separate limiting factor. After 75, blood viscosity increases by an estimated 18% above normal adult levels. Red blood cells become slightly stiffer and less able to squeeze through the tiny capillaries supplying your fingers, toes, and peripheral tissues. The difference between normal and slightly thickened blood flowing through a narrow capillary is not subtle. It is the difference between cold feet in summer and genuine peripheral circulation. Ginger's gingerol and shogal compounds inhibit thromboxane A2 synthesis, the specific mechanism that causes platelets to aggregate and blood to thicken. A randomized controlled trial from the University of Sydney found that adults over 65 consuming therapeutic amounts of fresh ginger showed a 23% reduction in platelet aggregation within 4 weeks. Beet juice dilates the channels. Ginger thins the fluid moving through them. The combination addresses circulation from both directions. Always use fresh root, never powdered for this purpose, because the gingerol to shogal ratio in fresh ginger produces superior anti-aggregation effects. Consume your blend before a 10 to 15 minute walk. Exercise activates gingerol compounds more rapidly, and the combination of mechanically improved circulation from movement with pharmacologically improved circulation from the drink produces compounding peripheral benefit lasting several hours. The fifth addition is L-arginine powder, 3 to 5 grams stirred into your complete blend. The factory now has upgraded equipment, open channels, thin fluid, and cleared brakes. But production is still limited by raw material supply. L-arginine is the specific amino acid your endothelial nitric oxide synthase enzyme converts into nitric oxide. Without adequate L-arginine, even fully functional enzymatic machinery cannot produce optimal output. This is called substrate limitation. Carolyn is 80 years old, a retired librarian, and she had been unable to touch a refrigerator door handle without gloves for 3 years due to Raynaud phenomenon, painful vascular spasms in her fingers triggered by cold. Her physician had her on calcium channel blockers with moderate benefit. We added 3 grams of L-arginine powder to her daily beet juice alongside lemon and ginger. Within 8 weeks, she reported her first Raynaud-free week since the condition began. Within 4 months, her physician had reduced her medication dose based on documented clinical improvement. Researchers at Johns Hopkins found that L-arginine supplementation in adults over 65 with peripheral vascular disease produced a 22% improvement in walking distance over 12 weeks, with the benefit most pronounced alongside dietary nitrate sources. After 70, the enzyme that recycles L-arginine within your vascular cells declines by an estimated 20%. Meaning you require more dietary L-arginine to maintain the same nitric oxide output you generated effortlessly at 50. Take it consistently at the same time each morning because the vascular effects are cumulative and build over 4 to 6 weeks of sustained plasma levels. And now, number 1. The ingredient I told you at the beginning you have likely been discarding every single morning. The ingredient that has never appeared on any circulation list despite carrying some of the most striking clinical data on peripheral blood flow I have encountered in 20 years of reviewing cardiovascular nutrition research. That ingredient is the green leafy tops of fresh whole beets. The greens most people remove and throw away the moment they bring beets home from the grocery store. Beet greens contain a compound called betaine, also called trimethylglycine, in concentrations 3 to 4 times higher than the beetroot itself. Betaine does not donate nitric oxide. It does not dilate vessels directly. It works through a completely different pathway that makes every other ingredient on this list more effective. Betaine is the most potent dietary reducer of homocysteine available in any natural food source. Homocysteine is an amino acid that accumulates in your blood when methylation, a fundamental cellular maintenance process, is impaired. When homocysteine is elevated, it acts as a corrosive agent on the inner walls of your arteries, creating microscopic damage that triggers inflammation, accelerates plaque accumulation, and progressively destroys the arterial flexibility that nitric oxide depends on to function. After 65, homocysteine levels rise significantly in the majority of adults. Elevated homocysteine is now recognized as one of the strongest independent risk factors for cardiovascular disease, stroke, and peripheral artery disease in older adults. Researchers at Wageningen University found that betaine supplementation equivalent to 2 to 3 servings of beet greens reduced plasma homocysteine by 11% over 6 weeks in adults with elevated levels. A study examining the direct combination of dietary nitrates with betaine in adults over 65 found that participants consuming both showed a 47% greater improvement in endothelial function compared to those consuming nitrates alone. The reason is this: homocysteine damages the endothelial cells where nitric oxide is produced. Betaine clears the homocysteine. The beet juice nitrates then have a structurally intact, inflammation-free surface to work with. The factory is not just supplied, upgraded, and running. It has been repaired at the foundation. Blend the greens from 2 to 3 fresh beets directly into your juice using a high-powered blender. If your beets arrive without tops, look for beet green powder in supplement form providing approximately 500 milligrams of betaine per teaspoon. The complete blend, lemon juice, raw garlic rested 10 minutes, raw cacao with black pepper, fresh ginger, L-arginine powder, and beet greens with your beetroot juice, takes under 5 minutes to prepare and addresses your nitric oxide pathway through 6 non-overlapping biological mechanisms simultaneously. Drink it 90 minutes before your most physically active period of the day because the nitric oxide peak from the combined preparation aligns precisely with the window when your peripheral circulation benefits most from maximum vasodilatory support. Vincent drinks this combination every morning now. His vascular specialist at his last assessment noted continued improvement in his ankle brachial index, the clinical measure of blood flow in his lower legs. He walked 2 miles last week. He told me he had not done that in 4 years. If you are 70 or 75 or 82 years old and your circulation has been declining, if your legs ache and your hands go cold and your walking distance has shrunk, I want you to understand that the research does not support passive acceptance of that trajectory. The biological mechanisms governing your circulation are not permanently broken. They are nutrient depleted, enzymatically undersupported, and substrate limited in ways that specific targeted additions directly address. Your arteries are waiting for what they need to perform. What you add to that single cup each morning may be the most consequential daily decision available to you right now.